Yo, what's going on, guys? Mush back at it with another video, and I want to highlight the Splitgate arena situation that's been getting quite a lot of attention. I was planning on making a video about this game because I think it's such another interesting case study of what not to do as far as game promotion is concerned. And then they had to put out a statement on people talking about the Steam charts regarding the game, and I was like, okay, that's the cherry on top. I have to talk about this situation. So if you don't know, this story goes back a while, but I think it got a lot of attention back at, I want to say it was Summer Game Fest, back in June. That is when 1047 Games came out, and the head of 1047 Games came out. They did a promotional bit as Splitgate 2 was launching. Yeah, if you go back to June 5th, they had a Steam post regarding Splitgate 2's launch, and the game was coming out around then. That is also around the time that they came out on Summer Game Fest and did the whole make first-person shooters great again and talked about their love for Titanfall and whatnot. And not inherently do I think 1047 Games was trying to be political or anything like that, but it's another case of, why don't you actually think a little bit before you do the things you're gonna do? First of all, trying to piggyback off of Titanfall 2 and games of that caliber, while also utilizing terminology that can be politicized, and more than anything, can be perceived in a political way. It's not about whether or not that was the intent, but you have to assess what the potential perception can be, and you could say, why would you care about that? Well, this is a live service multiplayer game. A live service multiplayer game lives and dies by its player base. You absolutely want to do everything you can into not alienating people if you don't have to, and in that case, what did that really offer? Was making that statement and promoting that game that way going to get people excited for it? Was it going to get people like, yeah, make FPS great again, Splitgate 2, this is the one we're gonna... No, nobody was like that. You can make statements about a game, and it could ultimately lead to something positive in regards to that game. And what we've seen is, if you want to go down that direction, which, again, maybe that wasn't 1047 Games' intention. I really don't believe it was. I just think it was something that they didn't realize what they were walking into. But if you do walk into something like that, or if the intent is to do something like that as far as an element of game promotion, you have to double down. The worst thing you can do is go on and apologize, and we've seen that over and over again. And I will say this, there's been a lot of talk around Lords of the Fallen 2 and some of the statements that were being made, but you know what? If they want to go down that direction, I actually give them credit for doubling down. That is what you have to do. Now, Lords of the Fallen 2 inherently has the issue of it's an Epic Game Store exclusive, and I think that is going to be a big issue with that game, but, you know, we'll see how that turns out. I just think that game not being on Steam is going to limit how many people are going to check it out. Like, it's one thing having exclusives, and, like, I hope that CI Games got a bag for that, but it's like, dude, Lords of the Fallen 2 is not a big enough game to sell people on the Epic Game Store. But as far as promotion goes, I think doubling down is more effective. Now, if they genuinely felt bad about how they went in that direction and they wanted to do an apology, whatever. But I'm talking about specifically for promotion and how a game is going to be perceived. If you put the toothpaste out of the tube, and you go in that direction, and you do some of the things that Lords of the Fallen 2 are doing, or you did what Splitgate 2 was perceived to do, the best way from an inherent promotional standpoint is to double down. I think everybody can agree with me on that. However, that didn't turn out all too well. Then you had the rebranding of the game as Splitgate Arena Reloaded, and that came out somewhat recently as Splitgate Arena Reloaded, and there's been a lot of attention made around the Steam charts, and you could say that's not a big deal. Well, I'll tell you why that's a big deal. So, Splitgate Arena Reloaded also put out a statement, which putting out a statement over people talking about Steam charts is wild. I think that's the first time I've seen that. But here's the issue with this statement, which let's read it first. Steam charts don't measure fun. They show one number on one platform at one given moment. They don't show the full picture or what it feels like to actually play, and they definitely don't capture the community that's actively helping shape what Arena Reloaded is becoming, including upcoming content like Arena Royale. Fair statement. as far as the game could be good. Steam charts are not the be-all and end-all about a game and its quality level. Absolutely agree with that. Over the past 6 months, we rebuilt Splitgate from the ground up because we believe in the game, our team, and our community. The 1047 team remains committed to delivering the best version of Splitgate possible. To our amazing community, thank you. Your feedback and passion have helped make Arena Reloaded better every day. And to everyone who hasn't played yet, Arena Reloaded is free. The gameplay's the best it's ever been, and we'd love for you to jump in and form your own opinion. A lot of passionate people work very hard on it. I don't doubt that. I don't doubt, outside of like people perceiving the statement and then the apology, however they're gonna do it, when it comes to these games, even games that I am not a big fan of, even games like Dragon Age Veilguard, which people were super critical about, there are a lot of people working incredibly hard. I know that a lot of the times, game development as an industry, it's a thankless industry. For every Clarabscare Expedition 33, for every Hollow Knight Silksong, you will get hundreds and hundreds of games that people poured hundreds and hundreds of hours into developing, thousands and thousands of hours, in fact, and they don't ever gain the traction that those games get, and they get lost in the shuffle and they get forgotten about. Look at a studio like Mimimi Games that I talk about all the time. They do some of the best tactics games on the market, and where are they? They're not around anymore creating new games because their games weren't commercial hits. That's just the reality of the industry and one of the harsh truths of the industry and really life in general, especially in creating art and passion projects and things of that nature. Where I absolutely disagree with is not assessing Steam charts, not assessing where a game is at. This is absolutely a valuable metric that you have to assess, doubly so for a multiplayer live service game, because the heart and soul of a multiplayer live service game's longevity is its concurrent player count, is the people playing the game. And if a game relaunches to, as of the recording of this video, 610 concurrent players on Steam, that is absolutely awful. Can a number grow? Absolutely, it can grow. But we've seen more often than not games fall off than games grow. Growing in your concurrent player count after a game's already launched is so incredibly difficult. Arc Raiders, that's a game that is going to be now studied under a microscope, but that is the exception, not the rule. The fact that Arc Raiders has retained pretty much its entire player base in terms of concurrent player count over the course of the last, I want to say it's been 3 months since the game came out, that is incredible, but it is an exception, not the rule. You look at the majority of multiplayer games that come out months after release, even gigantic games like Battlefield 6 and Call of Duty, they fall off more often than not. And yeah, is it a peaks and valleys situation? Absolutely. But even if your valley is 600 players, even if you're bottoming out at 600 players, that is not good whatsoever. And again, it would be one thing if this was a pay-to-play single-player game, then concurrent player counts don't matter as much. I would still say it very much matters, and data is important to have. It's all about how you comprehend data, and I do think data is super easy to manipulate, but how are people manipulating the data when it comes to Splitgate Arena Reloaded? I don't think people are saying the developers didn't work hard because the concurrent player count is low. The game might even be good. However, another case of game promotion just being fumbled to a big degree, and I don't think putting out a statement in regards to Steam charts being analyzed, and sure, I agree with a lot of it. I'm sure people worked really hard and they want people to play the game, but I think this does more damage than good. It's got 1.2 million views on Twitter, which is kind of insane, but, you know, this is another game that I think you could look at under a microscope and assess what the game did wrong, and Splitgate is a game that I remember it coming out and people having a pretty good time with, but this is one of those cases. Assessing that Steam chart absolutely matters. It is a big component to a multiplayer game like this. You cannot slice it any other way. And a free-to-play game. Why are games free-to-play? How can they keep that free-to-play model? It's because you have a healthy community of people playing the game and ultimately spending money in the microtransactions. Let's say all 600 of these people are spending money on this game, and obviously the monthly active users and the daily active users is orders of magnitude higher than 600, but it's still not a good number to be at, man. But that is something absolutely worth discussing, and I think when you look at a game like Highguard that we talked about yesterday, and now Splitgate as well, it's not that these games are inherently bad. Nobody is really saying that. It's that from a promotional standpoint, it is just handled so poorly, and I think the back-to-back of Splitgate Arena, them going with the make FPS great again, and then also apologizing, that did a lot of damage, and it's just one or two decisions that can be incredibly consequential. Much like Highguard, it was one incredibly bad decision that is going to be incredibly consequential. And what I just question is, how are there not people in a room being like, you know what, maybe we don't do this? And I can actually understand in the case of Splitgate being like, hey, we really do think we are taking first-person shooters back to the glory days and trying to piggyback off of people's love for Titanfall 2 and older first-person shooters. I can understand if you're in a room and you're putting that idea together that you think that's a good idea. I just think in execution, it was handled pretty poorly and people saw through it that, oh, you're trying to piggyback off of some of our favorite games of all time to push this new live service game, and then you also have this thing that was perceived to be political. That's the issue. It's perception. I don't care what the intent was. The perception was that they were taking it a political route. And then you also apologize following that. Again, all of these things could have been done with the best intention at heart, but that doesn't matter because perception outweighs intention. And in this case, perception cooked Splitgate Arena Reloaded, or Splitgate 2, back in June. But that's going to do it for me. Let me know all of your thoughts in the comments section down below. Another game that I think people and developers, publishers should look at and maybe assess. But you know what? If you want to check it out, it's totally free to play, so you can. That'll do it for me. Your thoughts down below. As always, guys, thanks for watching, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Peace out. Hey, what's going on, guys? Mush here again. Hope you enjoyed the video. As you guys might know, YouTube's notification system is sometimes a little bit wonky, even if you're subscribed to the channel. Maybe you're not abundantly aware that I uploaded a video. To remedy that situation, make sure you hit the bell notification button. This way, whenever I upload a new video, and I try to upload as consistently as possible, you will be notified directly of the upload, and you can watch it as soon as it goes live. I would really appreciate if you guys hit that button so you can stay up to date with all of the content I'm posting. But as always, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace out.